crack on at that. Um, Ricky, what about you? How's it going? You all right?
All right, Aaron, what's the story? Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Yeah. We've jumped on to the first Trail Talk YouTube vertical live. We're on skinny video tonight for a change, and it's to do the Q&A or the Ask Me Anything on the Tunisia Endurance Trail Tunisia 50k. So for people who don't know, I'm Aaron Shimmons and you are...
I'm Ricky Wynn.
There you go. Introduction's done. And for those who don't know, because we had a couple of questions come in, so we'll just set, I guess we'll do this as the first question. So why were we in Tunisia? Why were we racing a 50k in Tunisia? It's maybe not the one that would be on our normal wheelhouse. So long story short is that I was invited out by the tourist board to see the country and run a race. And they were interested in having a couple of people come across. So I recommended Ricky because he's a good guy. He's a content creator. And he's a great runner, and also he's Irish. So here, there's all three good things in one go. So that is the condensed version. Also, maybe the slightly longer take on that is it's a great time of year for a training race. Normally, I mean, I've been invited to do this type of thing a few times in the past, and it's been sort of June, July-ish time of year, which is sort of nearly peak season for us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this was a good time of year to do 50k. I would tend to do kind of that distance, maybe right through to sort of Aprilish time anyway. So perfect time for a 50k, perfect time for a bit of winter sun, and it was a bit of crack as well. So let's move on and ask the number one question that was coming in, Ricky, on Instagram was, what the fuck happened? How did you get lost? Like, why don't you give us a rundown of your race and why you got lost, how you got lost? Give us, what do you know? What you've told me this story, tell it to everybody else.
Look, first off, I want to say a massive shout out to you and the Tunisian tourist board for inviting us over. Because it was a shock to me. I got a message from you. I think it was a Sunday morning. I was having coffee in bed with Trina, and it was like, do you want to go to Tunisia and do a race? And I was like, this is perfect timing, because I was only after doing Art O'Neill. I'm training for Istria. A 50k training race sounds brilliant to me. I felt like I was in good shape for it as well, so I was super excited to go over, of course. And then we got there, and of course, look, everyone's going to say, how did you get lost? Anyone that knows me knows that I do get lost. I get lost going to the shop in my own town, okay? So, I'm not afraid to say I'm not a good nav man. A lot of people have been asking me lately, because I put up a thing about the Barclay the other day. Would I like to do the Barclay? Of course, I'd love to do the Barclay, but I would be useless. I can't even read a compass. So when we got there, we had to do a load of touristy stuff and content creator stuff and go around taking photos. And it wasn't your typical kind of, you get to check out the course, you get to recce, because for me personally, I need to recce a lot of courses because, I get lost pretty easily. And in fairness, I cannot blame anyone because the course was really well marked. There was red ribbons everywhere. As I was running around, I was saying, this is probably one of the best courses I've ever seen, because there was that many ribbons. But I actually think that the problem was there was too many ribbons. As in, where I missed the turn, I think I had the blinkers on. There was a turn up to my left, let's say, to go up to the next aid station or whatever. But I had the blinkers on, and I probably saw a flag 300 meters down the road, and then I went and did that, and I ran around. And then,
what distance was this at?
It was 33k, I think, something like that. Yeah, 33k, and I wouldn't mind. I don't know. I could shoot across questions here, there, and everywhere, but in my head, I was like, I have this. I actually have this. I'm feeling so good. Everything's clicking. legs are really good, fueling really good, weather's gorgeous, course is brilliant, suiting me down to the ground because it was like kind of wet, kind of mucky underfoot because it had rained a couple of days beforehand. It was like running in Wicklow. It was really suiting me down to the ground. And I was flying along and I was like, this has just been epic. Get over to Tunisia, going to win this race, going to get a little bit of prize money, going to wrap a flag around me and say, deadly job. And then all of a sudden, there's the finish line and I'm at 42 kilometers. I'm like, oh, there's something seriously wrong here. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it happened. You were 30 odd Ks in. I think from memory that was around that road section after the 26k aid station. So we were getting into the meat and potatoes of the race at that point. You were in the lead, right? And you were in the lead by maybe a fair chunk, were you?
Yeah, well, like honestly, like I was pacing it like pretty on point where I was hoping to be, and I felt like I could have kept that pace going for, let's say, another 16 or 17 kilometers. It would have got me in around 3:45, 3:47, something like that. And I would say the winner, Baratley, he came through in like 4:25. So I had a nice cushion there, you know. Now, I didn't know I had that big of a cushion, but I kind of had a feeling I had 25 minutes on second place anyway, you know.
That's a big that's a big chunk. 30 odd Ks into the race. So moving on to the next question, and it's actually a simple segue. What was your race strategy, and were you executing it before the DNF?
100%, 100%. Like I had a plan. I wanted to run in around 350. That's kind of where I wanted to be. I was thinking if I could average 4:35 a kilometer for 50k, 1,000 meters of climbing, fueling every half an hour. Like I was taking a TORQ gel that you kindly gave me before the race because like I'm too tight to bring my own stuff over. But everything was going really well. Like I was way on top of nutrition, felt great. Everything was clicking. It was just one of those runs where it just felt really smooth. Yeah, yeah.
And obviously, all these questions aren't for you, so I I was asked the same thing. And in terms of my strategy, I didn't have the same plan as you. Uh, my sort of goal for the race was I wanted to run it steady. I wanted to basically execute well on the nutrition all day, and I wanted to make sure that I ran everything. I didn't really know how hilly or not it was going to be. We knew the stats, but what is a stat for a course mean? So it's like 50k, maybe a k or so over that, and just over 1,000 meters of vert. But you don't know, is that with punchy climbs? Is that with long climbs? But it ended up being, I would kind of describe it as long, sort of 8 to 12% grade climbs, and then shorter, maybe 10 to 15% descents, which were thankfully more technical because I like a technical descent and I like a long runnable climb. So it was like if it wasn't for that sort of clayish muck that was sticking to our feet in certain sections, I really liked the style of the race, the style of the course. It had a nice flow to it. And in terms of like for the nutrition, I wanted to hit 3 gels an hour for 90 grams. And I started it off, I was trying a little bit different on the caffeine style. Instead of going on purely 30 milligrams of caffeine on a gel, I was trying some caffeine bullets, which were 1,000 milligrams per chew. So I had a couple of those chews to start off the race, and I was saying fairly buzzing, but they're sort of calorie free or whatever. There's no calories going into your stomach, so you're just getting the buzz without maybe consuming too much. Moving on then to the next question. What was your favorite thing about the race, and what was your favorite thing about Tunisia?
The favorite thing about the race was like the course. The course was really good. Like even like even let's say DNF, whatever, bit of a downer, as in I was like a little bit grumpy afterwards. Yeah, like right.
How
But I
many
mean, I
times did you
really,
tell that story?
yeah, I know, I know. But you always have to, you always have to keep repeating yourself, after you do have like it, because it is a DNF, right? Like I got to the finish line, but I didn't finish the race. Like, but the course was brilliant, like it was, and like you said, there was punchy climbs, but they were all runnable climbs, and the downhills were technical enough that like there was a sea in front of me, and like people would have seen if they were looking at like Instagram photos or something, and there was like fantastic views and everything. I didn't see a whole pile of anything because I was very focused on what I was doing. Because if you took your eye off it, you would twist your ankle, like because it was very rocky, it was very technical. So, like for a runner, it was super fun. Like the course was super fun. So that was definitely like a thumbs up on the course. And I actually hear that they've changed the course a little bit, that it used to be even more technical, and I think in the next iteration of the race they're going to bring some more of that, so it's kind of similar to what like Golden Trail Series would have in their technical races. So that's what I've been told anyway, that maybe next year they'll add more into that 50k from the old course, so that'd be cool. And then Tunisia itself, like in fairness, what I thought was super cool about it was there was certain spots. I'm so bad with names, but there was certain spots, and if you didn't tell me I was in Tunisia, you could have thought you were in Italy. You could have thought you were in Greece. You could have thought you were anywhere, like because like there was so much blue and white buildings. Look, and again, like it's the weather too, isn't it? Like once you have a bit of sun and blue sky everywhere. Look, my hometown, Drumshanbo, looks beautiful on a nice day. It's just that we don't get that many nice days here in Ireland, unfortunately. And you get a bit more in the UK, but like the weather was perfect. The food was really good. Like I know you're probably going to harp on about the food because you're a foodie. I'm not really a foodie, but the couscous was good. Everything, and the people, I have to say, like the people that had us over there were unbelievable, like so they were super nice, super chilled, and they made us feel at home, made us feel really good. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I could probably, even my own response to that question, I could only really echo some of that. The course, the country in itself, whenever you left the city kind of looked like how you might expect the city to look, sort of arid, dry, deserty, and that type of North African sort of culture and styling. But then whenever we went north and then west, there was so much greenery, and it sort of caught me off guard. I was expecting a bit more sand underfoot, and we got a bit of muck and a bit of clay, and actually if if you went off trail, you wouldn't have got too far because the foliage was so dense. Like you weren't gonna go between trees and get too far off course or anything. There was just thick foliage, and I didn't we hear the story that they originally had a 100k option or a 100-mile option, and these races were cancelled for various reasons. But one of them was because they couldn't get volunteers during the evening, during the night, and they needed people out on the course because of wild boar. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm not sure if there would be wild boar volunteers in European races. Like,
No.
what's the volunteer going to do if the wild boar, appears out onto the trail? I mean, it's like, oh, I'm not going to touch anyone in an high-vis vest. I'm only after the runners here. And then the other thing then was definitely the hospitality. We were sort of made to feel at home. The food was fantastic. I just wanted to eat and try what was the local cuisine. That obviously was a lot of couscous, and we've come away from Tunisia knowing that Tunisian couscous is better than all other couscous. And didn't we we had 2 kilos of couscous in a suitcase? I
Yeah.
think I've had probably half of that at this stage, and I'm halfway through my harissa as well. And I've been enjoying it. I've been trying that style of cooking, where you're doing like the vegetables in that same way, and yeah, super friendly people, and I really enjoyed the old town Medina in Tunis. I thought that was really cool. maybe not the perfect kind of day before race kind of walkabout. It was a little bit tiring on food. Like you and I could walk all day, all night, and all day the next day if it's a race. But
Yeah.
the walk around, stop, walk around, stop, have a chat. What's this thing? It was kind of tiring, although interesting. And I think that lovely kind of late lunch dinner that we had on that particular day kind of made up for it. But it was still tiring on food. Moving on, we've got a couple more questions. We're 15 minutes in, so we'll not be too much longer. What was your nutrition plan? I know I brought you some TORQ gels. This isn't a TORQ sponsored event, but or TORQ sponsored YouTube Live. But what was your plan? Like, not even in terms of product. What sort of macros were you trying to hit? Was it just hitting the carbs? What about fluids? That type of stuff. We had 3 aid stations in this, and how did you factor that in?
Yeah, well, I start by saying you and me are a lot. We're totally different. As in, you do everything you're supposed to do properly. I kind of wing it. I kind of wing everything, and I just say, look, if I have a gel every half an hour in a 50k, that's it. It's sound. I'm not wearing a vest. I'm not carrying a ton of stuff. You know what I mean? So I only had one handheld bottle, so that had just electrolytes in it. That's all I had in that, and then it was just a goo gel, or not a goo gel, sorry, a TORQ gel every half an hour. So I think what I was getting close to 60 grams of carbs every hour, which for me is perfect, right? I'm 5'2", so I know that 60 grams of carbs every hour. It's what I've been doing for years. It works really well for me. If I was to try and increase that to 90 grams of carbs, I actually think I'd get some stomach issues. It'd be just too much for me to process, you know. So that combination, over a 50k, that combination of 60 grams of carbs every hour and just making sure I'm hydrated, it works perfect for me.
And were you just getting water at the aid stations?
Yeah, just water. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I only filled up on the second aid station. The first one I just flew by because I was only after going into the lead at that aid station. So just there, I sort of opened up a small gap, and I was like, I'm fine, I'm grand. I'm gonna just turn the screw here a little bit and open up a bit of a lead, and I didn't bother stopping there. So
And
I
that
just
was
16k
19.
or 19. Yeah.
I think it was meant to be 16. It turned out it was 19k, 26k, and 42 or 43k were the aid stations. And actually, that 19k aid station, straight after that, that descent was nice.
Yeah.
It was good descent, and
That's
then
why I kept going. Yeah.
yeah, I had a good bit of a race along there. So we've touched on like the museums and stuff already, but there was a few questions coming in about what would you, if you're going to Tunisia, what would you recommend somebody does? You know, would you recommend this race? Would you recommend, like, we went to old towns, we went to museums, this type of stuff? There was loads of stuff I kind of wanted to see, we didn't get to see. I really wanted to see some of the Star Wars stuff from the original Star Wars movies, but we were at the opposite end of the country for that. What would be your sort of couple of recommendations on, hey, I'm going to Tunisia, you know, what do you recommend?
Like, again, names terrible, but do you remember the place we went after the race, and we were brought down to the ocean, and you got the view of the mountain, and it was like a place where they had a restaurant on the beach, and it was camping facilities and stuff like that. I think that'd be super cool, like to go there and have like that kind of an adventure, camp there, sleep there, eat there, and then race there, you know. And you could make a super weekend of it like that. That'd be one thing I definitely think it'd be super cool to do. And then the other thing is, like, you can't go there and not try all the food, like, because like they are super proud of like of their dishes and their foods. Like when we went to any of those restaurants, they were bringing plate after plate of different stuff. And even for me, like as a vegan, there was so many options, like, and they were very accommodating and stuff like that. So I definitely be recommending food and then that race, you know. And if you could build a weekend around that, like there's loads of stuff to see. Like but in fairness, we were there for a few days. There was so much more we probably could have seen. and we were busy all the time. I think we averaged about 5 hours of sleep in those 4 days. You know, each night was only like 5 hours sleep because we were actually that busy throughout the day. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it was early starts and late back, and it was only until it wasn't until the last night uh we were told you know this afternoon or this evening is your own, and that's it. And we were away like super early the next morning. I forget what time you were banging on my door saying wake up because
Yeah,
I slept through my alarm. It was like 5 in the morning or something. But yeah, it was the days were jam packed. I think I really enjoyed the was it the Bardo Museum,
yeah.
and more mosaics than I've ever seen in my life. But also it's like super cool. This stuff was like really, really old and very well restored or preserved.
Preserved. Yeah,
And also, it's not super busy with tourists. It didn't feel like there was that many tourists there. Even whenever we were in the museum, there was, I'm probably going to get it totally wrong, but if there was 30 other people in the building at the time that were tourists, I might be overstating it. So it wasn't like you go to a museum in Paris or Amsterdam or London or whatever, and one of the issues is it's just so friggin' busy and so chock a block getting around it. So I thought that was kind of nice. You sort of felt like you had the place to yourself, and you could just sort of look at the stuff and take it in and listen to what the guide was telling you. So I definitely like that. Um, Last couple of questions, Ricky, and moving on from Tunisia, people are wanting to know what is next. I know what's next, and it's coming up pretty soon. What is next on the race calendar?
yeah. So in 20 days time is Istria 100k. Well, it's 110k. So that's my next race. So that's exactly what that was. Like Tunisia 50k was a tune-up race where I get to just test my fitness, see how I was, and like I was pretty excited after that race because like everything went really well apart from me obviously getting lost. But I mean, like as a train and run, as a run in itself, like you're never going to run like that in a train and run at home. You know, you're never going to get that same stimulus that you get from running in a race. So I was super excited about how my body held up after it as well, because like I was able to continue straight into the following week and up until now training. So Istria 110k, 20 days. Looking for a big result. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I get that result. You know.
Anything you want to, no pressure. Anything you want to put on record that your goals for the race or anything there.
Yeah,
No
like
no pressure.
yeah, no pressure. But I always say, like, if you really want something, you have to say it out loud. You actually have to say it out loud. And if you say it out loud, then you'll go for it. Like, see, keep showing up, right?
Keep showing
But
up.
um, but I want a top 10. Like, I want top 10, and I'm just going off, would say, stats from last year's race, from other competitors that raced last year, other guys that I've raced against as well. And I feel like I am in that kind of shape, you know. But I seen the elite lineup, and I think there's 10 elites in it with a score of 800 and the UTMB index. So, you know, there's going to be some quality there. So I'm going to have a good day, which hopefully I have. Hopefully that 60 grams of carbohydrates works as good for me in Istria as it did in Tunisia. And I think we'll be on to a good thing, you know. What's next for you?
Um, well, I've locked in quite a few more races in the past couple of weeks now that a few things have sort of fallen into place. So next for me is the Mont Zerbion or Zer. I should say it in Italian accent. Mount Zerbion Sky Race. It's 22k with 2200 meters of vert. So big vert, short distance. I kind of like it's got one of those beautiful race profiles that I love. It just goes like this. That's it. Just one
Yeah.
up, one down. Like give it gas going up, and then just let gravity take control and switch the brain off and run back down. So that's going to be like a big 11k climb and descent. So I'm looking forward to that to kick off the season. I'll be in Chamonix from the start of April. So what date is it? It's just into May. So I'll have a good 4 or 5 weeks in the Alps, getting the bird in before that race. And then a couple of weeks after that, I'll be doing the Trail de Pierrevois, which is like a classic Swiss early season race. A lot of the good guys would do it, sort of test the fitness and get a wee short, sort of sharp lung buster in. And it's 33k and like 2600 meters. And again, the profile's kind of like this. Now at the top, you kind of do a loop and then you come back down, and it's a different route, but in terms of the profile, it just looks like that. And I did it last year. I missed a turn. I did what I like to call a Ricky win, and I missed the turn, and my 33k was 36, and like about 10 people that I passed on the descent were all sitting at the finish, like drinking their coffees and drinks and beers and stuff, and I finished, and they were like, what happened to you? So I need to right that wrong. And then there's a few other things, but we'll talk about those in future shows. Anything you want to get off your chest before we close it out? We're hitting 26 minutes, so we've had a good run here.
I just want to tell the audience how easy it is to get lost. You just told a story about getting lost. Anyone can get lost, anyone can get lost.
I think the number one reason I get lost, and I never actually get lost. I'm a good navigator. Let me put that out there. I get lost when I'm running too hard. Like I used to do quite a lot of orienteering, and I used to always fuck it up. And the only way that I dialed it back, basically less heartbeats per minute, and then I was better at navigating. So I think you need to slow down a bit. The markers.
No. Slowing down is not an option. That's not an option. No way.
We definitely can't blame the markers in Tunisia, because I second what you said, that it was for a daytime race. I don't think I've seen as many flags ever. It was perfectly marked with red and white tape. Anyway, look, everyone, thanks for tuning in. This has been a bit of an impromptu YouTube live. We're going to do more of these on single subject topics on a one-on-one basis. Any questions, hit them down in the comments and we'll get back to you. Hit subscribe so you know when the next one's coming. And Ricky
keep showing up.
Keep showing up to the YouTube channel. That's what I say. But we'll see you in the next one. Peace. See you later, mate.
See ya.